What an interesting time in the National Football League. What a week 13. I saw so many amazing things. Amazing. By the way, Brock Purdy might be this year's version of 2017 Nick Foles. That was unbelievable. We'll get to that. 49ers, in my opinion, might be playing the best football of any team in the NFL. I'll get to that as well. Would we agree, as we head into week 14, is it now? Week 15 of the NFL? 6 best teams in the NFL. Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, not in any order. Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals. I pretty much think those are your 6 teams that you trust. And most notably, you probably trust the Eagles most. And I'll get to that here in a minute. Would we not say those are the 6 best teams? Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, Bills, Chiefs, Bengals. We're coming down the stretch now. By the way, I want to do this and say this to you. Of all 6 of those teams, the Eagles have been the most consistent team. That's a fact. Undisputed. Undisputed. And I would say this to you. That may be more difficult to do than showing up and having great games and putting up super numbers. Being consistent on a daily basis and on a weekly basis like Philly's been has been pretty remarkable to watch. Now, I'm going to say this to you. And the one thing you'll get here on our show, not cheerleading. Sitting around for 10 hours talking about everything and not really looking at where you are in the room. Congratulations, you beat a shitty team. Now, to be fair to that comment, not every team can do that. Cowboys struggled against the Texans. Okay? There is a golden nugget to that. The Eagles are taking care of business, Silz. By the way, get this. How crazy is this statement? You know the best team that you may have played this year might have been actually the Lions? The best team that the Eagles have played might have been actually the team that gave them the toughest game. That was week 1. You look back on that now in hindsight, I don't know. That might be your toughest opponent that you've played. Pretty amazing. The Lions? Way to go, Dan Campbell. And again, I don't mean to straddle the fence on you on that. But congratulations. The Giants are who I thought they were. Thank you, Dennis Green. They're shitty. That's a terrible football team. There's not one redeeming quality about that team except the coaching staff. Jalen Hurts was great. By the way, I'll make his case for my MVP vote here in a minute. And then you tell me if you think I'm on the same wavelength with you. I thought the wide receivers were good. I'll tell you one thing that Steichen and Sirianni and Jalen are doing. They have figured out how to win without Dallas Goedert, which I think is important. Because it shows coaching, and it shows how you can distribute. Giants need a new quarterback. Daniel Jones sucks out loud. The special teams gave up a critical play. Don't do that in the postseason. You'll be beat. Block punt. I do think having Boston back there returning punts, I think is fabulous. injury to Blankenship and to Lane and to, I guess, the punter. I guess they'll be able to figure out the punting situation, but the injuries to Blankenship and Lane, not as catastrophic as thought, which is awesome. There's another component to this thing why you're 12-1. I said this from day one. The Philadelphia Eagles are the deepest football team in the National Football League. Remember what I said? You may not be man for man the best roster in the league. That could be debated that you are now, but you're clearly the deepest. Once again, congratulations. You beat a shitty Giant team. And for the record, that 49er team destroyed the GOAT. They have a great O-line. And what I'm starting to see now is similarities between 2017 and 2022. Would we all agree? By the way, I'm going to get to all your takes when I give you my takeaways. Fletcher Cox is playing better football. Playing better football. And you know why? Because of Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman brought those other two guys in. And the guy who's starring at defensive tackle right now is Fletcher. He's picked his game up. Fletcher Cox has picked his game up. I see him now. Before I didn't. I'm seeing Fletcher Cox. I'm actually seeing $14.4 million. And yes, Hassan Reddick has gotten off the bus. And I have to do this. Kudos to him. Third straight year. 10-plus sack seasons. 3 different teams. The first guy in pro football history to do that. That's something you put on your mantelpiece. Congratulations to you. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Okay? Why you're on your third team is unbelievable in a way. There is no doubt. You wind him up, he can get after your quarterback. Kudos. I think he's undersized. I don't think he's a very good tackler. I don't think he's a very good cover guy, but he can rush the passer. And I don't really think they brought him in to cover tight ends. Let me throw something at you here about Jalen Hurts' quest for the MVP award. Currently, right now, he's not in the conversation with the other voters. Oh, no, I'll take that back. I'll reel that back in. He's in the conversation. I was just talking to Xander about this. He's like Silz. If he keeps playing like that, I'm like, nobody's watching. Nobody's watching but the people in Philly, unfortunately. See, I'm here to tell you reality. People don't watch Jalen Hurts. They talk about Jalen Hurts. Because if you did, you would take into account what he's doing. ESPN, Fox, every show I watch. You know what Carton did? Hey, guys, you're going to love this. You know what Carton did? Carton started his show off, his national TV show today, talking Eagles. He's the only show in America that did that. You guys are going to go like this. Nobody cares. You should care. If you want your guy to win the MVP award, you better care. And I'm going to make a point to you. I talk about him all the time. I love the kid. He's great for my show. Not the style of quarterback I want, but that's okay. You understand the quarterbacks they're talking about today across the country? Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Herbert. Everyone else is filling. Oh, and Jalen's having a great year because if Jalen Hurts wasn't 12-1, they wouldn't be talking about him. They don't talk about Cousins when he puts up 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns every year. They don't talk to me just about winning because Garoppolo would be a millionaire. Let me put it, and by the way, He's the first quarterback to be in this position with 10 plus or 20 plus touchdown passes and rushing touchdowns since Cam Newton and Michael Vick. Only guy out of that group that's really accomplished is Cam. Won an MVP award, got a team to a Super Bowl. Okay. Yet to be determined. But go with me on Hurts here, on one conversation here. Jalen Hurts can win the MVP award, but it'll be in the final week of the season. Here's why. You look at Jalen's passing numbers, he's about 900 so many yards away from 4,000. 4,000's not that hot in a 17-game NFL season today. So he's kind of there. And people dismiss, because you know why? It's a label. Well, he's got 10 rushing touchdowns, Silz, and he's on pace for 900 yards. Yeah, but then he get labeled as a running quarterback with those numbers. Why do you think Lamar Jackson didn't want to run it at the combine? Because he didn't want anyone labeling him that. If Jalen Hurts ends up, and I'm going to say this here on December 12th, if Jalen Hurts ends up the season at 4,100 yards, 29 TDs, 900 yards rushing and 13 touchdowns, and his team is 16-1, I don't know how you don't, when you open up the envelope, have Hurts' name number one on that. It'd be something we've not, because remember I told you, you don't see 4,000-yard passing guys and 1,000-yard rushing guys. But it's going to be cumulative. Right now, no one's going to definitively say Hurts is the MVP. It's going to be Mahomes. And get this, you know what they're saying now? Burrow is rapidly going up that list. He is. Patrick Mahomes today is your MVP. Jalen Hurts, by the end of the season, can win it, though. He can win it. Okay? He can win it. Having a really great year. Follow me on this again. This is kind of the same stuff we saw a year ago with Kyler Murray when he was 11-0. He got paid off that 11-0 season. Then the Cardinals had a tougher schedule, and they're underwater, not going to make the playoffs this year. Just keep that in perspective. Okay? You think Hurts is going to put up 41K and 900 yards every year? Okay. Two things here as we get into the topics. So let's go with one of the massive failures of Howie Roseman. Way to go, Miles Sanders, in a contract year. You are an absolute MFer. Way to go, dude. Way to go. 1,000-yard season. Hey, Xander, all of you, you guys remember what I said, that at the end of the year, Miles Sanders was going to be the best running back in the NFC East. And he is. He's the best back in the East. And he's a free agent. You let that guy, Howie, go into a season without a contract, and he's going to gain 1,400 yards and be the all-pro. Not a Pro Bowler. The all-pro running back. And he's walking out the door. Kudos to you. How we didn't believe in Miles. Thought he was a non-part of the offense. Howie Roseman doesn't really think anything of Miles Sanders. So he's been auditioning, and he was great. He was absolutely great. Look at Richie. Franchise tag? So you're going to put 14.5 on Miles Sanders next year? Never happen. You're not franchise tagging Miles Sanders. $14.5 million? You think Roseman, who's got to pay a quarterback, is going to go down the same route that the Cowboys are in with Zeke Elliott? How do you know this ain't a one-year wonder and he's always hurt? Got to pay the guy. Hey, if you got to pay Jalen Hurts, you got to pay Miles Sanders too, dude. Or you don't. One of the most important pieces of that whole offensive engine in Philadelphia is Sanders and how he let him walk into a regular season with no guarantees at the end of the year. Nothing. I wouldn't come back to Philly either. He gave everybody a year ago a contract. TJ, Goddard, Dickerson, not Miles. And Miles is on pace for 14-10. Woo! Where could you see him playing next year? Miami with Lamar? Baltimore with Lamar? New England? The Rams? Man, he's going to make somebody very happy. I mean, hey, could you see him in Los Angeles with the Chargers? Whew. Or maybe you see him in San Francisco with the Niners. Wow. Holy cow. Congratulations. You let your second best offensive weapon walk out the door because you didn't give him a contract. Miles Sanders is gone. And what a great game, by the way, by the numbers. 48-22. 22. I don't even know how the Giants put 22 on the board. It must have been a fluke thing at the end because I turned it. I mean, actually, you could have turned this game at halftime. Giants had nothing to offer. I said they didn't have any. I mean, it was terrible. And to the Eagles' credit, they took care of business. 27 first downs to 18. Think of this. The New York Giants, I mean, they had less amount of first downs than they put up points. Crazy. Eagles 6 of 11 on third down. Giants 4-13. Total yards 437 for Philly. 304. I don't even know how they put 304 on the board. The Giants. Total plays were around the same, 66, 62. Rushing yards again. Eagles have two great backs. And Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders. Fantastic running backs. 253 to 123. Pass net was 184 to 181. Daniel Jones is terrible. Jalen Hurts, 21 of 31, 217, and 2 touchdowns. By the way, there were plays in the ball game that Hurts was throwing the ball that got called back that were awesome throws. He absolutely is getting better at his accuracy. You see it. Week in and week out, the guy is completely improving his ball game with more reps and more games. Absolutely getting better. Sanders was spectacular. Star of the game. 17 for 144 and 2 touchdowns. Shit, he could have ran for 250 yards if they let him. Hurts 17 carries, 77. Was the second best player on the field to Sanders. Miles was great. 144 rushing. Good for him. 1,000-yard season in a contract year. You can't get any better than that. This guy's going to get paid. Good for him, man. A.J. Brown, 4 catches, 70 yards. And Devonta, 5 catches, 64. They ran the Giants off the field with their dominance at the point of attack. And that goes into our topic here. I really love what Sanders is doing. Okay? The 2017 Philadelphia Eagles combination of lines versus the Philadelphia Eagles 2022 set of lines. I made this proclamation when you guys were in your role to winning the Super Bowl. I have never seen a combination of linemen and depth in 17 that took control of football games more so than what the Eagles did. And the only other comparison I could make were those Steeler teams back in the 70s on how great they were on defense and offensive lines. Now, they had Hall of Fame backs, Hall of Fame wideouts, a Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame linebackers, Hall of Fame DBs. That's the greatest football team that's ever been assembled. With those Steeler teams in the 70s, with all the Hall of Famers on them. But I said comparison-wise, that team that the Eagles had, man. And here they are, the 17 guys. Zach Ertz, you're tied in. Voltea, is that how you say his name? Left tackle. You have Wisniewski at left guard. Kelsey at center. Lane at right tackle. Your entire right side of your offensive line is pretty much the same group that you have here. And this is who you have now. Dallas Goedert will be back this week. Malata at left tackle. Dickerson at left guard. Kelsey at center. Lane Johnson at right tackle. Your defense back in 17 had Curry, had Jurgen, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. This group, Brandon Graham, Fletcher, Hargrave, and Josh Sweat. Is this a better group than that 2017 group? You can't really make that proclamation. So we'll ask the question this way. You think this group is playing better? I went back and took a look at some of the paths that you had to go through in 17. There were some pretty good teams, but again, it's kind of lining up the same way for the Eagles. Because again, the one thing that favors them, you have the second weakest schedule down the stretch, which is great. By the way, that's not. And people will start firing back at me. Well, Silz, we only play with some. That's not a point I'm making. I want it to be easier. Don't ever wish for harder teams to play. Why would you? Why would you make your path more difficult when you don't have to? I wouldn't. That's why I say the record's incidental. Getting to home field is paramount, like it was in 17. Whether you lose one game, 2 games, just get the home field advantage here. Because you want the playoffs going through Philly. That's all you care about. Dropping to Chicago. It's a conference game. You don't want to do that because you still got to play these games because the Cowboys are still in the conversation. And same thing with that Vikings team. By the way, I told you this on Friday. Dan, do you believe in the Vikings? No, every time they're in a critical game, they get killed. And now you're upset. And by the way, to me, the Lions look like the better team that was on the field when they were playing the Vikings. They looked like the better team to me. This group here, you really haven't had to play. I mean, look, if you look at the quarter, I mean, you're not going through and playing Tom Brady. The 49ers in the last 2 weeks had to beat Tua and Brady, and they beat both of them down. They beat both of those guys down. Last 2 weeks, you beat Tannehill and Daniel Jones. There's really not a lot of threat. Justin Fields coming up. That's kind of a threat, but not really. It's okay. This group is real. I'll tell you what, the stars of this football team are by far the O-line. Everything runs and is generated through that O-line. You know the guys that are down in the coal pits that are making everybody have a fancy dinner and have really beautiful rooms and all the electricity? The guys that are doing all the work so everybody can enjoy their life, like AJ, Miles, Hurts, are the guys down in the bowels of the ship, putting the coal in the engine. That's who those guys are. They're the fuel that fuels that team. And it's not close. Best O-line is resulting in the best performances. Without those guys, they would never. Again, like I said, Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl last year with the worst O-line in pro football history. Okay? The worst O-line. If the Eagles had the worst O-line in pro football history, that'd be a different conversation today. Jalen's not carrying a team with the worst O-line like Burrow did a year ago, albeit outstanding skilled guys in Cincinnati. Higgins and Chase and Mixon, all spectacular players. Okay? They are. And probably more skilled than what the Eagles have. But the Eagles Mixon and Miles Sanders, Mixon's a better player because he's more versatile. Jamar Chase is better than, or he'll put up, well, he's been hurt, so he probably may not put up the numbers that AJ did. But he did put up in his rookie year 1,500. Okay? So, 12-1, heading into Chicago. I love the fact that this football team takes every single week. And it's a 1-0 season. Okay? It is. Hurts has really played well. No getting around it. His improvement has shocked everyone. Has shocked everyone. Boyd, too. Absolutely. Mr. International says we're not healthy. Neither is any team in the NFL right now. So what? And that's how the Eagle mentality is. Next guy up. And that's why I say this team's starting to take on some of the characteristics of that 2017 team. Whereas, again, your lines are dominating again. But you may actually have more skilled people this year in 22. Silz, you should listen to week 1 episode, then come down and recap episode because you sound silly. You know what's funny about that? Week 1 versus today, every team gets better or worse, jackass. Every team has a story. The one thing that's been consistent here has been the play of Philly. Not even the Washington game has derailed the comments. They got beat. So what? Long as you're not, they didn't get killed. And I said this on Friday. This team is a team that's never going to get killed. Quite frankly, that's the only thing I'm wrong about so far has been the 2-5 start. That's it. Nothing has been proven yet. You have won nothing. You have won nothing. 0. Wait a minute. I'll take that back. You've won admiration for how well you're playing. But there's no trophy or ribbon for that. Okay? Silz, you've given the Eagles great mojo. I believe that. Apologize to Hurts for what? What's he won? When he wins a Super Bowl or he wins a playoff game, I'll make you a deal. When he wins a playoff game, I'll have to start talking about him like I did Lamar Jackson. But until that time, beating Daniel Jones, great, you're 1-1 against Jones. Congratulations. Congratulations. 1-1 versus Dimes Jones, and what are you now? 1-1 versus Heineke? Get in there, man. Keep it going, baby. Keep it going. Hey, Niners, at least Lamar was a unanimous MVP. This guy will not win that award. If they go 16-1, he has a shot. If they lose a couple games, he'll have no shot. By the way, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair. Like right now, my vote for MVP, for the NFL honors, my alumni vote, here's who I would go. Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Hurts, Allen. Some would go, Burrow? Yeah. Burrow beat Mahomes. Yeah, Burrow beat Mahomes, and he's the reigning AFC champion. Started 0-2, and his team's playing great ball right now. By the way, that Brock Purdy kid could play. Woo! Man, I got to think the Niners might be the best team in the league. They just might be. They're playing great football. They beat the shit out of a team that annihilated you 10 months ago. And the GOAT. They were all, boy, I'll tell you what, Nick Bosa, man, and that D-line and those linebackers. And by the way, also, Christian McCaffrey is a force. You know, maybe it's because I didn't watch him in Carolina. He is spectacular. Christian McCaffrey is spectacular. Spectacular. Wow. He's unbelievable. Yes. Gary Cobb, 4:30 Eastern time from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. Wow. Dude, Brock Purdy. How about the job Kyle Shanahan's doing? He's my coach of the year. That's your third quarterback? That's your third quarterback. Can you imagine Sirianni having to go through Jalen, then Gardner Minshew, and then having to go through and win games with Ian Book? I mean, Kyle Shanahan, kudos to you, dude. This guy's on his third quarterback. And they look better today. They look better today, man. That Niner team is for real. That's a good-looking football team. Their defense, best in the league. Best in the league. I will say this about the Eagle front seven. They're getting after people. And they've clearly improved. They've clearly improved. I think San Francisco is our biggest worry in the NFC. The problem with the Niners, though, dude, Deebo Samuel, what's the status for him now? Can't lose that dude. Can't lose that guy. Can't. Everyone is better than us according. No. I just said that the 49ers. What's this? 49ers are playing better football than you right now, but the Eagles have played more consistent football all season long than any team in the league. Is that fair? Actually, I mean, you beat Tua and you beat the Buccaneers and Tom Brady the last 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm looking at who they've been playing the last few weeks and killing teams. I mean, the Giants, how much credit do you want for killing the Giants? A lot? Little? Pats on the back? I mean, what exactly are you looking for? I couldn't believe how San Francisco dismantled the Bucs like that. Dismantled them. And a week prior, the Dolphins, they dismantled them. Dismantled them. Those are playoff teams. They dismantled 2 playoff teams in a row in back-to-back weeks. Dismantled them. I mean, the Jags just beat the Titans. And you beat the Giants. I'm like, really, I don't know what you're looking for. Buck's been bad all year, inconsistent and just completely banged up. He made Brady went into that game with 3 picks, like 3 or 2 picks all year. And he threw 2 picks in that game. Niners they were in Brady's face. I'll tell you what, they roughed him up too. They roughed Tom Brady up. You know what? I haven't said anything about the defense. Let me get over to the defensive side of the football here. How do you look at the sign of Hassan Reddick? Silz, the Bucs suck. 6-7 this late in the season. Give me the grade on the Hassan Reddick deal. What do you think Hassan's grade? How he's dealing to get Hassan Reddick? What do you think it's been? Give me a grade for Hassan Reddick. A. Genius. Great. B. B plus. Double-digit sacks. Got to credit him. It's an A right now. We needed a double-digit sack guy. That's Xander. I'm going to agree with the A's. It is an A. Hassan Reddick. Again, I see where the deficiencies in some D coordinators wouldn't like him because he's just a one-trick pony. But he was brought in to be that one-trick pony in Philly. Asking him to do multiple things is not what he is. I think once Gannon figured that out and stopped dropping him in coverage and stopped having him do anything else other than just rush the passer, I think that's what's picked his game up. It kind of took him a little bit to figure out Hassan Reddick. I think again, it took a little time to figure out, and this has to go to Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon figured it out. You've got to give him credit for this. Jonathan Gannon figured this out. He did. Now, look, I'm going to stick with Seth. Do I like him as my absolutely not. But you can't dispute the numbers. And the most important number, you can't dispute the winning. So, end of the day, Gannon figured it out. 2 other teams couldn't. Cardinals, Panthers. Eagles did. Stop dropping him in coverage. How many times did we say that? Don't have him out there covering backs out of the backfield. That's not what he is. So what did they do? They wound him up and said, go get it. They wound him up and and by the way, Jonathan Gannon blitzing, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I couldn't believe the games and the stunts that I saw with the DTs. I couldn't believe the edge rushing and the twist that they were running with Sweat. I could not. By the way, Josh Sweat is no longer Keith Sweat. He's picked his game up. He's picked his game up. Went like this, and now he's up like this. And Eagles have improved their sack total from a year ago, from being one of the worst to being the best right now. It's pretty impressive. It's great. I'm happy for the guys. And the guy who's benefited the most from all the changes when they brought the 2 D tackles in has been Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox is playing as good a football as he did at the start of the season right now. I can't remember what game it was. It might have been the Tennessee game or prior to Tennessee. I forget what the game was where Fletcher played like 75 snaps. You can't do that to a guy that old. And since they've taken his reps away, remember I told you that once they take his reps away, you may see more quality plays coming out of him. And that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing more quality plays. Did a really nice job. TJ Edwards was everywhere. I don't know where he is on the Howie Roseman priority list, But if the DBs are the most important players that they want to bring back, my opinion, TJ Edwards has to be in the top 5. Has to be in the top 5. By the way, I'm going to make a point to you here, and I want this to be said. People are going nuts about the Cowboys. The Cowboys? The Cowboys were lucky to win that game against the Texans. The Cowboys are a good team. Are they anywhere near the Eagles? Are they anywhere near the Niners? Watch this. The teams that I see in the NFC, I see the Eagles and the Niners. And the rest of them, I don't know. Vikings? No. Cowboys? Why? Really? Anyone else in the NFC? Let me think. Anybody? Anybody else? There's 2 teams in the NFC. It's taken us all this time, right? We're heading into week 15. We know now 2 best teams in the NFC are the Niners and the Eagles. Cowboys, kind of. The 49ers are a demolition team. They are a demolition team. I don't look at the Cowboys and go, I don't know, man. I'll tell you what, that rookie running back that the Texans have, that kid from Florida, Xander, that kid that was playing against the Eagles, that kid can ball. He is what's his name, Gainer? That kid can play. He is a good football player. Anton, I think the Texans blew it at the end for the number 1 pick. Man, Lovie Smith, some really shitty play calling and decision-making at the end of that ball game. Cost him big time. Oh, Dameon Pierce. I think that kid played at Florida. Shit, he can ball, man. By the way, congratulations, A.J. Brown, going over 1,000 yards. Okay? That kid Pierce can ball, man. He is a good-looking ball player. Good-looking ball player. Bucks leaking oil? Steven agreed. By the way, I'll say it again to you. I think the Bucks miss Bruce Arians. Big time. Skid says, do you think Hurts having 1,000-yard wide receiver and back will hurt his MVP voting? No. Skid? For me? How could I take something away from guys who are having success on my football team as a negative? I hate that conversation, Skid. If I've got 2 wide receivers with 1,000 yards and a back with 1,000 yards, the reason that they got that was because we got a great O-line and my quarterback has to be winning. It's a remedy of winning. It's like the Joe Burrow deal. Well, Burrow had Jefferson and all these guys and Jamar Chase and all these guys at LSU. Well, he went to Cincinnati and put a team in the Super Bowl. I think Todd Bowles is a really good defensive coordinator. I really do. Head coach of the Bucs. I think he's a fine coordinator. But as a head coach, not happening. Not happening. Would I like to play for Todd Bowles? Absolutely. Do I think he's a good head coach? No. Okay? No. As a matter of fact, you want to hear this? I'd rather have Byron Leftwich as my head coach. I'd rather have Byron Leftwich as my head coach with the Bucs. Philly is too well-rounded and too many options in defense and stacked on every level. Dude, who are you talking about? Beating up Daniel Jones and the shitty Giants? What are you talking about? Stick to the teams that you killed that were good. Cowboys and Vikings. Beating the Giants up? Congratulations for beating a division opponent. That's all you get from me on it. Taking care of business. You don't act like a professional Super Bowl contending team, folks. Not like a team that you're surprised every week that you're surprised. That's what I don't get here. Every Monday, you know what we do? We come here like we're surprised. I come here thinking, well, if you're a professional Super Bowl contending team, you shouldn't be surprised. You still think Brady will beat us? Real question. It's a great question. Do I think that Buck team and Tom Brady can beat the Eagles today on December 12th? Better yet, beat Jonathan Gannon. I don't. Because as much as I think the 49ers are the best defensive unit in the league, I don't think that gap between the Niners defense and the Eagles defense is gargantuan. I think it's probably a stream. You know, a small stream you see next to your sidewalk, and it's a little tiny stream. It's probably that narrow of a gap between the two best units. Like, watch this. Do I think Dallas's unit, their defensive unit, is in the same room with the Niners and the Eagles? Absolutely not. Absolutely not do I think that. Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell. Those two units, see, personally, I think it's the Niners and Eagles, Cowboys, and then the Vikings and them other dog shit teams. The Cowboys are going to put points up, though. They're going to put points up. I want to see Tom Brady this year in the playoffs. You may get your wish. Big Silz, which Tua did the Niners beat? The Tua who played last night was just a dude. He was just a dude last week, too. He hasn't been right since the hit in Houston. I don't know this, man, but that 49er team beat the piss out of Tua and Brady in consecutive weeks. You beat Tannehill and Daniel Jones. I don't know. Way more impressed with San Francisco the last 2 weeks. Way more impressed. Now, the most impressive player between those two teams has been Jalen. And you know who I'll put second? I'll tell you what, man, that guy Christian McCaffrey is some ball player. I see why Howie Roseman made a play for him. I see why Howie wanted Christian McCaffrey and made a call down to Carolina to try to get him. I see why they did that. Boy, health has been an issue with him. He's freaking spectacular. He's Brian Westbrook, but not as good. He's like Brian Westbrook. He's running in between the tackles. That Bucks, I mean, when Villa Veda went out, there's no question that they started pounding the ball in the middle there. Christian McCaffrey's been sensational in San Francisco. He's been sensational. Now, the injury to Deebo Samuel, I don't know how long that is. That's catastrophic if they lose him. And that plays into the Eagles. And by the way, nobody's wishing for anybody to get hurt, but so what? It's part of the league. Niners are worried about Deebo Samuel. Shit, man. The Eagles are worried about Lane Johnson, Blankenship, Gardner Johnson. They got guys to worry about too, right? Goddard, Jordan Davis. They got their own worries. Nobody's healthy completely right now. Okay? Niners lost one. Dude, the 49ers are a completely different ball team today. I don't give a shit what their record is. They're a completely different team today. That's the story. What the Eagles have done. They've been the same team all year. That's why they're probably the best team. Okay? Because they played from week 1 to week 14. They've been the most consistent. Here's another thing, too, on the conversation for Jalen Hurts for MVP. When you watch a Jalen Hurts game, You're amazed at his versatility, but he doesn't do anything spectacular. Mahomes is making these underarm passes, these ambidextrous throws. Allen's throwing those BBs. Burrow's throwing the way he throws. And you watch Herbert was sensational yesterday. Justin Herbert was that team's got to win more, or you got to fire that coach. Justin Herbert was spectacular. When you watch dude, the best quarterbacks, not dual threat, in the game are Herbert, Allen, Mahomes. I mean, it's those guys. Josh Allen. Then it's everyone else. What puts Jalen in the conversation is those 10. If Jalen Hurts didn't have those 10 touchdowns rushing, he wouldn't be in the conversation with them dudes. He has to do that. But that's what makes him unique. How about this? Let's put it out here this way. Tell me if you agree with this distinction, if you're okay with this. Jalen Hurts is a one of. There's other guys in the league. Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, those dudes. Okay? But Jalen's one of. He's having a 2007. Here, if you want to really look at it, Jalen Hurts is having a 2017 Lamar Jackson season. Lamar lost 2 games. And he was a unanimous MVP. Martin says, Josh runs RPOs, dude. Hey, yeah, right. So when you watch Josh Allen, okay, and then you watch him throw the ball versus Jalen, what do you see? Out of your mind. Out of your mind. Nobody outside of Philadelphia would ever do this. I'll draft Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen. Not a soul on the planet, but the half idiots in Philly. Half of you are idiots. Nobody in their mind would do that. Nobody. Guy has no running game. You take Miles Sanders off that team and you put a shittier O-line. By the way, he's got the #1 seed in the AFC too, so he's on schedule. Let's see how he plays out. That's an interesting comment there, because I'm going to do this. Right now, get this. What is Jalen Hurts doing more than what Josh Allen's doing? I thought the #1 thing is to get home field advantage and the bye. Allen's got so many turnovers, and he's still the top seed. And he beats guys like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. You beat Tyler Hine. Oh, excuse me, you didn't. You beat Cooper Rush and Dimes Jones. Hey, excuse me, Xander, I missed that super chat, please. Could you put that up? I never want to do that. I missed the super chat. If you could put that up, please, for me. Less turnovers. Think about that for a minute, Jay. Jalen's playing perfect football. Allen doesn't have to. And he's still the top seed. Hey, Xander, I missed that super chat. So when you put it up, if you can, the green one for me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. There you go. Silz, Hurts is elite. Just not in the play style you like. Yeah, I think you got to. Hey, you know what? I will say this to your take. I think you have to quantify that result. Like I said, look at me. I'm going to make this point to you here. He ends up with 4,000 passing yards and 29 touchdown passes and 900 yards rushing and 13 TDs. That's freaking elite. But see, he's going to get these accumulative. That's why when you're watching his numbers right now, people read box scores when you – guys, why do you think I put the MVP guys on this show here all the time? They tell you flat out. They look at box scores. They look at box scores. Okay? Markey, if Jalen throws at least 211 yards and rushes for 78 yards in the next 4 games, he'll have 4,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing. That isn't unrealistic. That's insane. And thank you very much, Marky. That's insane. Even I relent. Okay? You have half the story done on me then. Flex, the Bengals going to roll the Bills in the AFC divisional round, book it. And the Eagles and Niners going to battle it out in the NFC title, book it. I like your thinking, Flex. I'll tell you this, half the story. If Jalen Hurts gets to 4K and 1,000 rushing and 29 touchdowns, okay, half the story would be Big Silz having to admit it. The other story is winning. Don't put up Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott numbers, because I'll call them empty calories. Because that's what you did, Kirk Cousins. Every person in here says that Kirk Cousins has empty calories. And Dak has empty calories. And I to some extent, I agree with you. Because where's the winning? Where's the winning? That'll be half the story. I am going to totally agree with you. Sean goes, if Jalen wins the Super Bowl, does that change anything? Sean, if Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl at the age he's at and the season he had, it changes everything. It'll change everything. Everything. Jalen Hurts will make $50 million. He wins the Super Bowl. He gets to the playoffs, they're going to be talking about a 3-year deal, $35 to $40 million. And I think they might guarantee the whole thing for 3 years. I'm starting to agree with some of you. Josh Allen's first year to second year, the leap. And I would make this point to you. Jalen Hurts' leap from last year to this year might be even greater than what Lamar Jackson's was and Josh Allen's was. That could be a fact. As a matter of fact, I might lean towards that being the truth. Now, again, he's not the thrower or doesn't have the physical arm talent that those two guys have. But again, he's unique. I've said that. That's the difference. The Bills think they can beat the Chiefs and Bengals now. They can book them and they can look them in the eyes. The Bills think they can. Flex, those are very good takes. Sydney, you missed my fan chat. Are you surprised with Joseph? Sydney, very good. Sydney, the impact. Hey, this last one here too, Xander. Hurts pace on 29 TDs and 13 rushing total would be incredible. Absolutely would be incredible, Anton. Yeah. Hey, I said that the additions of Sue and Joseph have clearly benefited Fletcher Cox. Have clearly, Philly, that is the most, can I tell you, Philly, the most impressive stat that Jalen has? Those 3 INTs. The touchdown to interception ratio and the turnovers this year. I'm not sure I've seen a quarterback have this amount of turnovers, and I mean in a great number, not very many. And the running he does. I mean, he had 17 carries on Sunday. His turnovers and protecting the football has been over the top great. Okay? Hey, and Xander pointed out something I pointed out earlier, but I'll do it again. That throw to Devonta that he didn't get his foot down was an incredible throw. I mean, he dropped it in the basket on him. He did. That was a heck of a throw. And personally, I think the only reason that you really didn't blow your marbles on it was because Devonta kind of like didn't secure it when he went to the ground. But dude, I'll tell you this, man, I wouldn't have went, hey, that's a catch. I would have went, I think it's a catch. Plus you get Goddard back this week. Most impressive thing about Hurts is his football IQ. That's without a doubt. He is such a smart kid. And you see him play the game and how smart. See him running over to the sidelines, just throwing it away. How many times did you guys scream at Carson Wentz to do that shit? How many times did you scream at Carson Wentz? Dude, throw it, punt it, kick it, do something. And again, I want to say this one more time about your Eagles. I think that the 49ers are playing better football than you the last 2 weeks. But you're the best team in the league. You know why? You prove it every week. Wendell says JH will give the team a discount on his – no, he won't. On his contract. And so they can remain competitive. I think to some extent, Wendell, he will. Clutch Sports is not going to walk in there and go, hey, we'll take $10 million less. Watch Allen lose the playoffs due to total interceptions. Could be Martin. Could be. But before you start barking about Allen, have Jalen show up for a game first. Again, last year he was the caboose. Carried to the finish line. Passing game was like 28th or 29th. It was terrible. It was terrible. Now, it's formidable. Now it's formidable. $245 million for 6 years. Good luck to you on that. Mojo goes, come on, Silz, admit it, Jalen MVP. No, that's not who I have right now. I got Mahomes, probably Burrow now, and Hurts. With Jalen, all three of those guys, watch this, all three of those guys, you could flip a coin. Some would go, Burrow? Yeah, he's got a conference championship, and he's now in the 2-hole. Yeah. I'm sorry for me, Burrow's the second best quarterback in the game. People too quick to try to give Allen his kudos. He's surely the most accomplished. Well, Joe Burrow, it's funny. Joe Burrow in his first year starting a full season won an AFC title. Burrow's not over Hurts. Oh, I think he is. He's a better player. Jalen's more versatile. Sure. And again, has Jalen Hurts played more consistent football than Joe Burrow all season? You got to remember, he had the surgery at the beginning of the season, the appendectomy. He didn't practice the last month and a half. So their 0-2 start could kind of maybe be laid at the feet of that, a little bit. And then obviously now they've picked it up immensely. They're beating big-time teams. Okay? The Eagles have been the most consistent team all year. And the 49ers are playing the best ball over the last 2 weeks in the NFL. Yeah, that's how I'd look at it. I don't think the Eagles are playing better ball than the Niners, but they have all year. I think it's how you want to cut the cake. Who would win? I don't know. Today, without Debo, probably the Eagles. And at home, probably the Eagles. But if Debo plays and they get all their pieces to play in that championship game, it'll be a coin toss game. That'll be a coin toss game. You don't have a better pass rusher than Nick Bosa. You don't have a better linebacking core than the Niners. I do believe your DBs are better. Your tackles you can compare the tackle, kind of. Lane's a right tackle and Trent is a left blocking tackle. Okay? Let's do this. Let's take a small break here. Week 14 of the NFL, I want to talk more about the defense, and I also want to talk a little bit about A.J. Brown here. And also more on Miles Sanders, how we let him walk out the building. Sad. Sad, you get your second best offensive player, and he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and he won't return. We're going to hit on that. Hour number 2, don't forget Gary Cobb, Fox 29 at the bottom of the hour, 4:30 Eastern. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Post-game show with Seth Joyner.
I knew that they had a running game.
Derek Gunn.
He has put in the effort.
Devin Caney.
Had we not won the Super Bowl, what would we be saying?
And Mike Missinelli.
Well, you know who Philly is.
Post-game, now streaming on the 6ABC family of apps.